Superheroes are actually pretty cool. Every single one of them is super unique. Like some can use a weapon or have no powers, and someone can fly or be strong or heck, even have a really cool story. When they're adapted into movies, the company that made the most movies that are really good is Marvel themselves. Now, don't get me wrong, DC has also made some great superhero movies. Hell, some of them are some of the best films ever made. But most of the time, they're pretty awful indeed. But the most famous example of all is Spider-Man 2002. Spider-Man 2002 is a movie that was released in, you guessed it, 2002. Okay, enough said. This movie is actually pretty great. It has clever writing and also maturity to its name. And it's also created one of the best trilogies of all time. Especially if the third one, super weak with its flaws. But enough said, let's see why this movie is a cinematic masterpiece. Many films are different, and many films are great. But how do you make a perfect film? Number 1, do something creative. Or take an existing story and make it better. An example of this is the Mario Bros. Anime. Takes an existing story, someone has to save the princess from someone evil, and mixes it up with nice animation, nice writing, and funny dialogue. And it all ends with an epic finale. Alright, so here's another example, and it's perfect. The story of the movie is that a rat named Remy wants to be a chef. Okay, that's pretty basic, but nobody sees it. Soon after a mistake that Remy did, all the rats have to leave the house. But then Remy gets lost and he doesn't know where they are. And he tries his best to look for them, but he can't seem to find them. And then in the end of the movie, he becomes a rat chef in his own business. Now tell me, what does Spider-Man accomplishes with his story? Well, one day, at a school field trip, it's off when Mary Jane is about to take a picture of her. But then he gets bitten by a radioactive spider on his hand. But then when he gets home, he suffers some side effects with a really weird scene. Where there's a bunch of spiders and skulls and everything goes crazy at once. Like, what the fuck? Meanwhile, at Oscorp, the military comes in and they're like, hey, let's see a bunch of missiles. But the scientists are like, they're not stable. So the generals are like, no, we're not interested. Osborn gets embarrassed because of this. That night, Norman Osborn creates an experiment where he fills himself with gas so he can be stronger. The gas overfills, however, and the scientist tries to save him. And then Norman goes crazy. And after those shenanigans, the company's like, hey, Norman, you're going out of business. Yeah, business is not going out for you. And, you suck. But then Norman replies with, Peter wakes up, he sees that he can't really see with his glasses on, but when he takes off his glasses, he can see very clearly. He looks a little more muscular than he usually is. Soon after checking his body, he sees his girlfriend getting ready for school. Soon after saying goodbye to his folks. Soon after a ha-ha embarrassing school day, Peter has a fight with the school bully and wins. Soon after school, he runs in the alleyway and climbs up the walls. Then he realizes that he can jump through buildings. Oh my god. That's so cool. Then he tries shooting webs, which he fails at first. Then he finally shoots a web and swings like a boss. But just like George of the Jungle, he hurts himself by crashing to a wall. Then, when he gets home, he grabs a notebook and a Sharpie and makes some cool designs for superhero powers. The next day, Uncle Ben takes Peter Parker to the New York City building. And before Peter leaves, he tells him with great power comes great responsibility. Soon he goes to a wrestling match where he gets beaten up at first, but then he wins. So that thief comes in and steals all the money. He just lets him be by himself, just lets him run away, lets him steal all the money. and the rest of the police never get him. But he's like, help me, brother, help me. And he says, and he deserves this because he only gave him $100, even though he did a really good job fighting. So yeah, karma, dude. Be an asshole to you, but you were an asshole to him in the start. So yeah, fuck you, and it's come for you. Later that night, in the middle of the street, Uncle Ben is dead. There's blood all over the body, and Peter has remorse of what he has done. And it looks like somebody shot him right in the chest. Then Peter remembers who the criminal is and chases him around the city. And then he and the robber fight really hard, Batman style. And then we get this scene.
I'm gonna have to kill you.
Please, I'm just a desperate guy trying to feed his family.
You don't have a family.
And then the robber trips and falls down the building and dies. And the police search around the building, but nobody's there. Meanwhile, Peter Parker and Aunt May are really sad because the uncle died and he got shot. Meanwhile, the military has made a machine and they put it somewhere safe, aka a big field where everyone can see it. And they see a green beam in the distance and everything blows up like boom. The next day, everyone graduates from high school. Wow! But when they get back to the house, however, things get really sad. That night, Peter looks in the sky and thinks of all the things he did. So he tells his aunt about it and they both feel remorse. After that, Peter grabs a suitcase out of his bed. He grabs a suit and then looks at the page and makes it better. And then we get a montage where he saves a lot of people and everyone is happy except the news. Then a few months go by and there's a new weirdo out there in the sky. Who is that, you may ask? It's the Green Goblin, and he destroys buildings and kills a lot of people with his mighty bombs. So Spider-Man saves the day and everyone is safe. And the Green Goblin attacks the news station and tries to stop him. But he is sprayed with pulsing gas, and now he's in a coma. But then he goes into his house and scares the shit out of his aunt. And so, she ends up at the hospital. Right after that, Peter tries to call Mary Jane, but it turns out she's been captured by the Green Goblin. And then we have a great action sequence where he not only saves his girlfriend, he also saves a basket full of children who are all alone, and he captured. And it works really well. But then Spider-Man gets dragged to the warehouse. At first, the Green Goblin smacks him. He beats him up. He blows him up really hard. And he beats him until his blood dead. And then, Spider-Man rises with all of his might. Even though the Green Goblin denies him for his strength. And so, he rises up. Even though the attacker is about to do his final match. He rises up to the masses. Even though the attacker is about to do his final smash. He uses it against him. Smashes him off, and throws him against the wall. And also, he survives, and beats him, until he's defeated. But then he knows it's Norman Osborn the whole time, and he tries to get his sympathy by trying to believe that he wasn't the evil one. And he wants his sympathy, while he's trying to kill him with a freaking drone. Peter knows this, and he jumps up, and this thing happened. And now the movie's over. Wow. But let's talk about everything else instead. Now you might be asking, hey, if you talk about the story, what about everything else? Well, the stunts are amazing. Some of the best movements I've ever seen in a feature film. And the special effects are amazing. I totally believe that they wanted to make this film a masterpiece. It's such a nice, the acting is wonderful, and it feels realistic, and also the camera work is really nice and beautiful. And also there's some lines in here that are really memorable and also part of memes. Also, the casting is so good, you'll believe that celebrities were not involved at all. The main character has an interesting character arc where he goes from nerd to superhero. It's way better than the new Spider-Man movies. I mean, if you really think about it, they're just a nerd at best. So, please calm down. Also, when it's not focused on the plot, the emotional moments and emotional scenes can be really heartbreaking and also can be some of the best scenes in film entirely. Also, J.K. Simmons, one of the best actors of all time, was a perfect J. Jonah Jameson. I don't know why. He has the perfect attitude, the perfect voice, and also the perfect mode. It's so incredible. I just can't believe how incredible it is to see an actor this good do a great performance. It's so wonderful. And also the score is fantastic. Wow! For some reason, Danny Elfman, the composer of the song in the movie, just gave his soul to the performance of the music. And he wanted to be just like John Williams. You know what? I don't blame him for that. Do you remember that I said that the old Man and Batman movies were one of the best? Well, most of them at its time weren't doing so good. Well, this little film in 2002 found a way to influence the big MCU that we know today. Nowadays, sometimes DC can make a really good movie, but most of the time, they can make forgettable garbage after forgettable garbage. And the only way it influenced it was because it was a great adaptation. And it made it work like it's nothing. Overall, I give this a 10 out of 10. A masterpiece.